building a company is up and down at times, and everything worth doing is hard. So you have to tune into the story, because that story is like a prophecy.
Yeah. Everybody, welcome back to Founder Stories. So if you're sitting there thinking that you've got a pipeline problem or a demand problem in your business, I'm probably talking to about 90% of you here. I've got a real treat for you today. I'm delighted to welcome George Terry to the Founder Stories podcast. George is the CEO and founder of Winbox.
Thank you very much.
Hi, George. I'm going to turn around and address you properly. Thank you for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. It's great to see you.
No worries.
I'm sure you guys are very busy at the moment, so I'm sure your time is limited. But I also can assure you that I reckon at least 80% of the listeners of this will get something out of what you've got to say today. Yeah. And hopefully would be in contact with you as well.
Cool.
So without further ado, before we talk about you, because this is Founder Stories after all, so do be prepared. So we want to know about George today more than Winbox. But before we do, let's introduce Winbox.
Yeah. What
is it that you guys do and what are the problems that you solve?
It's pretty straightforward. We're a LinkedIn ads agency. That's all we do. We just do LinkedIn. We do organic content on the platform as well. Increasingly, we do personal brand building for CEOs and founders too, just because that's the direction that the platform's heading in. It's kind of moving away from brand accounts and towards personal accounts.
Yeah.
But we don't touch anything outside of LinkedIn. You know, we've all been in marketing for ages. I've been in marketing for 15 years, and I just know that if you chase two rabbits, you're going to catch neither. If you do one thing, you're going to smash it. And so, yeah, we're pretty disciplined about that. We work with mostly B2B companies, a lot of SaaS, a lot of tech. Got about 50 clients at the moment. And yeah, it's a great company.
Cool. So you guys you do the whole kind of LinkedIn ecosystem, don't you? You'll actually do the content creation itself, and then you manage the distribution engine, both organically and paid on LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time talking to marketing agencies of all different descriptions. I've not actually come across another business that does the whole thing.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself as in a kind of category of one?
Yeah. And that's by design. For LinkedIn ads, most companies and freelancers that do it are like paid media people by nature. And that's fine, because the paid media side is important. And that is one half of what we do. But our background as an agency, and this is the bit that I bring to the table, I suppose, is content and creative. Yeah. And I'm actually not the CEO, the creative director. Right. And Mark, my business partner, is the kind of CEO and paid media guy. And we just come at it from opposite ends of the spectrum.
Right.
And
apologies, Mark. I just gave George a bit of
right. He's a nice guy. He won't mind. And
is Mark available? Can we get him on the couch?
Yeah. You can just we'll wrap this one up and you can bring in Mark. So it is unique, and it's definitely our unique selling point. Yeah. And it's great for us because it's only getting more important. It used to be a few years ago that you could kind of cut through on LinkedIn with pretty mediocre creative. Yeah. But that's changing, and the bar is being raised. And so that's perfect for us. Yeah. Because we're here to kind of help people take the creative to the next stage, or the next level.
Love it. I'm actually getting really excited as we're talking, because this is my world. This is where I am. I spend most of my time kind of trying to work out how to elevate the profile of businesses, or in my case, usually get them from 0 to 60. Yes. Or 0 to 5 million in most cases. And LinkedIn, as you say, is a key channel for that. But what I find is they often fall down in certain areas, whether it be the quality of their content, just the homage that they pay to it, just that, they don't really see it as a key strategy. Yeah. And therefore very reluctant to invest, but are very happy to invest in like an underperforming sales team that they've really set up to fail because they've not got that demand gen engine really kind of firing at all cylinders. Definitely. But also the content strategy I've seen so many times just change the game for businesses. And so it's something that I'm really passionate about educating founders on, is that, if you've got your chips there and you're looking at where to slide them, content is a pretty good bet, right?
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're talking to founders, I reckon right now, one of the most powerful assets you can have in terms of like driving sales, improving your marketing, building a more compelling brand, just being known, liked, and trusted, is the founder being active on LinkedIn.
Right.
Because for me, 100%. Like we work, as I said, we've got 50 clients. We work with all different types of companies. Some of them have founders who are operators, right? They want to kind of hide behind the logo or hide behind the team. And that's totally fine. Because if that's who they are, then that's who they are. And you can't force someone to change their stripes. At least if you do, it's going to be really difficult and they're probably not going to enjoy it. But when we have CEOs who are like natural storytellers, natural communicators, comfortable in the spotlight, just want to be out there in public, everything gets 10 times easier.
Yeah.
It just does. I think the reason for that is just, it's human nature.
Yeah.
Like people are so much more interested in people than they are in brands. And the type of people that command attention are like people on a mission.
Yeah.
Founders who are like, the world is broken, I'm fixing it. This is what I'm doing. They're out there and they're like making moves. When you speak to people who are like that, it's infectious. You know, I interview a lot of CEOs these days, and the ones who are the way that I've just described, that's a huge marketing asset.
Yeah.
On the level, you know, people talk about like brand equity, like, you know, the total kind of like value on the balance sheet of a well-known brand, really hard to like quantify, but obviously there. And I think like founder brand has its own kind of store of brand equity. You can make your brand famous just by being out there and growing it and documenting and telling the story. So yeah, it's something I believe in as well. And I love it. Like I find it really interesting. And I'm trying to do it for Winbox, you know, as well. So it's kind of fun. I see both sides of it. I see the, you know, the CEOs of our clients who are out there doing that. And in my own small way, you know, I'm trying to do it for us as well.
Here
doing stuff like this.
Content. It's super important.
This is what it's all about.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
Sharing our expertise, sharing what you believe, you know, documenting the process.
Absolutely. And you've mentioned two different types of founder there. So let's double click on those. So type A is very, very compelling, loves being out there, loves talking about what they're building, very impactful, great on camera. Let's start with those guys. Yeah. What type of content is cool right now? What's in now that they should be creating that you guys can then distribute for your fabulous marketing automation engine? Like, what is it, kind of talking heads on a stool? What's working?
Yeah, so for our clients, where we see the best returns in terms of ad performance, but also in terms of like your content budget and making it go as far as possible, is kind of UGC style talking head content. So CEOs, I will literally hop on a video call and I'll say to them, we're just going to record on your laptop, or, you know, use your phone as your camera the way you can on Macs and just place it on top. And we're going to hop on a platform called Riverside, which is like a kind of like a souped up Google Meets. And that type of content where it feels kind of raw and authentic and unscripted works so well on LinkedIn because it just doesn't feel like marketing. You know, the way like 10 years ago when you'd get your CEO kind of on camera, I've done so many of these shoots over the years, and it would be in a kind of often a room in an office, and there's quite like a high production value. Yeah. You know, lots of lights, lots of cameras. And there's nothing wrong with that type of content, but that can perform less well, I think, than the more kind of lo-fi stuff, because the lo-fi just feels a bit more like the CEO is just doing it because they really care. It's not like a kind of like a concerted marketing effort. That's not to discount, you know, we have a podcast ourselves and we have a setup a bit like this with like nice lights and nice cameras. So there's definitely a place for that, I think, especially if you're trying to do like kind of like thought leadership style content like this. But yeah, if there are any kind of MDs or CEOs or leaders that want to know like what's working best across our 50 clients, it's that kind of raw, improvised UGC stuff.
And you then take that raw content and you then kind of, I suppose, because you mentioned like better quality content is performing better on LinkedIn. So what do you do then to take that video to then make it fit for purpose, as you've said before, it's got to be right. It's got to be the right type of quality. Are you then editing that to get it ready for the campaigns?
Yeah. So, I mean, quite simply, editing for social, first off, vertical, because most people on LinkedIn are on their phone.
Yeah.
Obviously captions, because video plays on silent. I am like pretty merciless with the edit. So I want like every video just nailing one pain point or one benefit or one category entry point or one proof point, whatever it is. Like every piece of content just about one thing. Try and get it to about 60 to 90 seconds. Start with like a really powerful like hook, like first 2 to 3 seconds. Yeah. Just, take the most interesting part of the video, cut it out and just stick it on the front.
Yeah.
And then play the rest of the video. Yes, it sounds weird, but that's just how you get people to stop the scroll.
Yeah.
And then just cut out all the kind of filler words and the ums and the ahs, all of that stuff. Just whip it out the edit so it's really pacey and really quick. And you can kind of feel it towards the end of an edit. As I'm sure you know, you create video content yourself, when it all kind of locks into place and you're like, there it is. Like, now it's going to work in the feed. It's going to stop the scroll. It's going to hold on to people's attention. It delivers some kind of payoff at the end. So yeah, we have a whole workflow for that, which is, and that post-production, you can turn stuff that may not feel like gold into gold in the edit if you kind of know what you're doing.
I love the power of that. I love the power of editing and what you can start with versus, I mean, I've seen some absolute horrors of me and others that I'm like, what are you going to do with this? Over to you guys. And it's come back and it's like really professional. Yeah. So I love the power of it. I love what we can do with video now to really drive like meaningful content.
Definitely.
What about cohort B? So cohort B absolutely despise being in front of the camera. Maybe they're a technical co-founder or a technical founder who just want to be in the background. And they'll say things like, I've got a fantastic team. They're the face of the company. I just want to be in the background. I know quite a few of these guys. Yeah. And they're amazing people. And I would love to get them on. I've had a couple of them on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just really want to get them out there. Yeah. And actually the feedback has been, what a fantastic person. Really authentic, really genuine, humble. All of these qualities come out in these people that are actually having a mare when they're in front of the camera. So what would you say to those guys? How can we get them creating content as well?
Yeah, I think I would say 2 things. Firstly, as an agency, I don't want to make anyone kind of do anything that they really don't want to do. So if this is actually going to cause them like stress and anxiety. This is based on an actual experience I had where I went and did a shoot years ago with a client in London. And, we had the setup not dissimilar to this. And the guy came in and he just crumbled. And I was asking the questions. I was trying to come at it from different directions. And we said, let's stop everything rolling. Let's just sit down, have a cup of tea. Okay, take a few breaths. Let's get to it. And it happened again. And after that, I just kind of thought, I don't want to do that to people.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. And it made me feel bad. And not everyone has the ability to just communicate on the fly like we're doing now. And I think that's okay. It's a bit like asking someone who's like dyslexic or struggles with spelling to write a short essay about their business. They're going to really struggle. So I think that I try to be like kind of sensitive, I suppose, to who can and can't do that. If I think that actually the issue is they would love it and it's just about getting them out of their comfort zone, I think it's just about talking to them about the upside.
Yeah.
The why.
And just making them feel very comfortable as well. I suppose this show is easy because we talk about them and it's very easy to answer questions about your journey. But if it's like, okay, we're now going to create a piece of marketing content that's going to go out and it's going to be all over the place and it's on paid, so it's kind of on mass.
It's going to be seen by hundreds of thousands of people.
Then I think I will probably struggle. I can understand where they might be coming from. So what we're saying is make sure that, yes, as a founder, the whole point of this entrepreneurial journey is going outside of your comfort zone and building something fantastic. Yeah. But know the limits. And if actually there's someone that's better suited to be in that face, then go with that.
And that is the second thing I would say is if you are not comfortable doing it, find someone who is.
Find someone who is, yeah.
Because those people might be just in the business. I often say this because, it's becoming more and more important to have personal brands, whether they're your CEO or someone else, like out there kind of being the voice of the brand on LinkedIn. But I often say to clients, it doesn't have to be CEO. It doesn't even have to be SLT, like senior leadership team. Most important thing is they enjoy what we're doing right now. They're communicators. They like being in the spotlight. Yeah. They can tell a good story. They've got like that just kind of personality that makes for good content. Actually, if they're just like a mid-level marketing manager, but they've got all of that stuff in the bag, it's going to be way better content than someone who's sat there sweating profusely, freaking out, hating every minute of it. Yeah. Who is, on the board or something, or really, they're really senior, but most people don't care when they're actually watching the content.
Yeah.
So
what's your view on actors?
Actors, what is it, using people who just, I don't know. I think if you had to do that, it kind of says something maybe a bit negative about the company. If you got a company of like a couple hundred people and not a single one of them wants to go out and bat for you, like, what does that say about the business?
That's a fair comment, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's always a degree of stage management to everything in marketing. And like every marketer is quite comfortable at like creating a narrative, right? And framing things in a particular way. But you don't want to be dishonest.
Yeah.
If you're paying an actor like to say they're a customer or an employee or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel weird about that.
Yeah. I do agree with you both. I'm not asking you because I usually use actors. I have my own feelings about authenticity and actually a few filler words are fine if it's authentic. Yeah. And we've all been there. It's a bit of a journey. Okay, speaking of journeys, let's park the company for a second because this is Founder's Story. So I want to know about you. You mentioned you had a marketing background, a creative background rather. Yes. So you've been really into the video creation side and things like that. Let's go back before that. So talk to me about your background, where you came from, and a little bit about George.
Yeah, sure. So from Buckinghamshire. Originally, and it's quite interesting actually. I was catching the train down, I was thinking about this because you shared a couple of questions beforehand and I was reading them, and some of them were about school and stuff. I have not thought about school for the longest time.
The podcast to get these flowing.
It's really interesting, and I was kind of watching the countryside roll by being like, how does that connect to this? And how did it set it all up? And the connections are not hard to find. At school, I sucked at a lot of things, but I was really good at writing and art. And I knew that like that was kind of my thing. And I had lots of things that weren't my thing, like anything kind of practical, science, maths. I was just like middle of the class, not terrible, but not for me.
Yeah.
But writing, like, cause just loved books, writing from an early age, like writing stories, just like always had my head in a book, drawing, painting, played tons of instruments. So I just like was mad into all of that stuff from like a really early age, and knew that like that was the plan. I think my parents really worried at a certain point when I was a teenager because I didn't seem to have any interest in like work or the commercial world. I was totally away with the fairies. I was like making music and coming up with names for bands and like trying to play like 4 different instruments at the same time and doing all this stuff. And they were like, this guy's going to be useless as soon as he hits the job market because he's just got like loads of unmonetizable skills, which is fair enough because I did. But then when I kind of graduated, I did creative writing, which I enjoyed. And then I graduated and the plan was just to find some way to make money from being creative. And it was just obvious that like marketing was that, that was going to be the way to kind of turn all of that energy into an income. So moved to London and worked in an agency not far from the studio, actually, around the corner, on St. John's Square, and just loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was wicked. And as soon as I got into the industry, I was like, here we are. This is great.
Arrived.
Yeah, and just had a ball for like 5 years. I was agency called We Are Social. I was on the Adidas account. So that's all I did. And it was just wicked.
Yeah. So you're not adverse to like jobs in the real world either. Yeah. You don't have this like crazy founder thing going on where you're like, I absolutely can't work for somebody else. So how has the journey to foundership worked for you? Coming out of a job that you seem to enjoy?
I had loads of jobs. I was always working as well. It kind of maybe selling myself short, as in like I had to have jobs to have money. Yeah. So I was working in call centers and in kitchens and stuff and bar work. I loved all of that. It was all really formative on the way through. You know, you learn a lot about leadership from working in a kitchen because you see like the mental head chefs losing it in the middle of like a Sunday roast when you've got like 80 covers and they're like losing their marbles and storming out the kitchen, and you kind of bank that and you're like, don't be that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, worked in loads of agencies before doing my own thing. I think the moment, it was actually really interesting. Again, this is something I was thinking about on the train. So I worked in pretty big agencies. Like the biggest was Publicis Media, which is like tens of thousands of people around the world, a massive corporate network. And, you know, when you're in those companies, like hundreds of people, thousands, the idea that you could do that you could start that is just ridiculous. It's like, it's like saying you could run the 100 meters at the Olympics. You're like, well, obviously that's not possible for someone like me. And when I left London and I moved to Bristol, and I'm sure everyone who knew me was like, oh, George has just like ruined his career, because I went and worked for like a 6-person agency on accounts that like I had never heard of and none of my kind of cool agency friends had ever heard of. But it was being in that tiny agency and working really closely with the people who had set it up that I was like, there's nothing mystical or supernatural that they're doing that I couldn't do. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like when you get really up close, I was like, okay, I kind of get just like the unit economics, I guess, of like how I turn like hours of work into money, which is basically like the agency business model. And I kind of understand a bit about like agency positioning and how you need to like solve a particular problem for a particular group of people. And in the end, I spent about a year and a half there and just thought, yeah, I'm just going to do that. Like, I can do that.
I think it's such a good idea as well. If you're in a large company, but maybe you've just got like a little bit of an itch that you want to scratch about doing your own thing.
Yeah.
Rather than jumping ship and going literally from like one end of the spectrum to being in your bedroom and going, oh, what have I done?
Yeah.
Actually, that can be a really good stopping point.
Definitely.
To go into a smaller business. Same with software.
Yes.
You know, if you're working for Salesforce or the Access Group,
yeah,
you're not going to be like, oh yeah, I know how they started this. I know how they built this from scratch. I know what the unit economics were.
Yeah.
You know, you can't see it because it's just so big. But if you go and work for a startup and you can see everybody wearing lots of hats, you can see the founder on sales calls, you know, you've got a direct line into the product team, so you can see how they're building what they're building. You can be super curious and make friends with the CTO and all of that stuff. Then it's much easier to see how you build a product. So
definitely.
I think that was probably a really clever, whilst your friends maybe thought you'd lost your marbles.
Yeah.
It was probably a really clever, was it intentional?
No. Up until probably like 2 years ago, none of it was intentional.
Right.
Everything was just like having fun, moving at high speed, just being like, you know, always have to work. And so I moved to Bristol, needed a job. That was like the first company that said yeah. And they were stoked because like they just hired this guy who'd come from like, you know, some of the really good agencies in London with like big brand experience and stuff.
Yeah.
Just kind of fell into their laps. I mean,
very human, very nice. You have kind of this. I might be wrong, and I'm really sorry. So those guys are working in these big agencies, but you have this maybe misconception that you're going to be a certain way, and that way is not necessarily how you actually are. You're very down to earth.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'd like to think so. I certainly don't take myself too seriously. But it was not intentional. But sometimes really good decisions aren't. You know, you just get in there, especially when you're running a company. You are often like just making the best decision that you can at the time, and you find out in due course if it was a good one.
Yeah. Well, you've been running this company now for how long, Winbox?
We set it up in its current form. It'd be 5 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'm interested to know, because I'm just thinking about you as like little George, and super creative, always writing. This is what you love. You didn't know what you wanted to do, but you knew this was who you are.
Yes.
So you had this real self-awareness of who you were, and you've just kind of followed where you've been able to exercise as much of that as possible.
Yeah.
Now you're running a business, and there's a lot of stuff that you have to do when you run a business that is not at all creative. It's very spreadsheety, it's very numbersy, it's very difficult and very grindy. How are you managing that? Are you still, do you feel you're still able to exercise this creative brain?
I cheated. I like my co-founders. So I have 2 co-founders, Mark and Tom.
They're both accountants.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I wouldn't go that far. They are great, and they are really good at everything I suck at.
Right. That's the way to do it, right?
And that is the power of having co-founders, I think, is what you want is skill sets that are, there's a phrase for this, isn't there? Mutually exclusive and mutually exhaustive or something like that. Basically, yeah, they're good at stuff that I'm not good at, and I'm pretty good at the stuff. They're actually quite good at like comms and narrative framing and storytelling and stuff as well. But we each have our own little domains, our kind of dominions. You know, Mark, who I mentioned earlier, CEO, extremely good at the kind of operating side of running a business. So he's your spreadsheets guy, just all over it. It's like amazing. Has so many spreadsheets. Also really good at paid media.
I like him.
Yeah.
I have lots of spreadsheets too.
Yeah. And like, that's so important. If I was like running the finances, we'd be out of business. It's awesome. Tom, sales.
Yeah.
And he has like a relentless.
He's great.
Yeah.
Tom's a great sales guy.
Yeah. You've met Tom, good, just effortlessly charming.
Yeah.
Relentless kind of social
I would hire
battery.
him in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
He's so good.
So good with clients. Like I watch him, we exhibit at a lot of events, and I just like sometimes I just kind of stand back and just watch him doing his thing, and I'm like,
so good.
Man, like that's an absolute master.
So he's co-founder of the business.
3 of
as
us.
Well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought he was just your like VP of sales when I met him. I didn't realize that he's actually a co-founder.
Yeah.
Oh,
he was just
what a great co-founder. Somebody that can present the company in that way.
And that's exactly it. He is that kind of. I guess Mark and
So now I can't hire him.
You can't steal Tom, sadly.
No,
you have to work really hard to do it. And the way it got started was really interesting because I said, you're like, I'm going to do my thing. And I've been at this small agency and I'd seen it. And the way I decided to get started was what a lot of people do, which I'm going to build up like a freelancing business and hire into that. So I was happily freelancing away. And Tom and Mark were running like a content agency. They had like a previous company. And I just reached out to Mark and said, I'm a kind of creative and I'm a writer and I can see you're doing content work with clients. Let's have a coffee. And we started working together and it just felt really right. And then I met Tom and that felt really right. And they were keen to, I guess, take their business in like a different direction.
Yeah.
And they were doing like a lot of blogging at the time. And I think that I could feel from them an energy for a change. And obviously I was really keen to do this with people.
Yeah.
Because I'm fully aware of the fact that I have like many weaknesses. You know, this thing like a bit like at school. You know, really good at some things, lots of things I'm not so good at. And yeah, it just felt right. And so we said, let's kind of wind down like that content business. And we kind of got rid of the brand and everything and boot up a new sort of company. And we'll take over those clients that want to come with us on that journey and make that change. And we kind of made peace with the fact that a lot of them wouldn't, but it felt like we were heading in a direction that was more aligned with the future.
Yeah.
And like, we were so right. Because we were in the kind of, before that content business was like the sort of, blogging just got nerfed by ChatGPT. So like that was the right call. We didn't know it at the time. We didn't even know like what AI was going to do. Whereas where we are now is much more AI proof.
Yeah.
And certainly like LinkedIn has kind of taken off over the past few years. So that was a good bet in that sense as well. But it was interesting. I remember having a conversation, on the subject of co-founders, like having a conversation with my dad, going into this and calling him up and saying, look, I've got this opportunity. Met these 2 guys, they're great. And we're thinking about doing something. And what do you think? And tried to describe the nature of the business that we were discussing. And he was like, not interested really that much in the company. He's like, tell me about the people. Yeah. He's like, what you what you think you're going to do is probably not what you're going to end up doing. Like you're going to change. You know, every business kind of goes through a few iterations. It's like the people won't change. And like if the people are, what was the phrase he used? It was like, if you like, trust and respect them, anything's possible. But if if you're like wobbly on any of those things, do not do this. Like do not go close to it. And that was really, really
well
good
done,
advice.
Dad.
Yeah. I mean, he knows his stuff. And that was good advice. And you know, that's like every business. You have kind of really good times and more difficult times. But if you do have like strong relationships and you all like each other, I think that's really important. Like actually just getting along and enjoying being in each other's company, because you're going to spend a lot of time with each other.
Yeah.
The likelihood of success increases dramatically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have been the really crappy times for you in the last 5 years, whether it be you as a group? Because obviously, you know, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Tensions can rise. You're all very different by nature. It's not always going to be, you know, having pillow fights and braiding each other's hair.
That's it.
So what have been the most challenging times for you, either from a business perspective or how has that relationship been challenged over the 5 years?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge was a couple of years ago, where it's funny how often like really big problems, they start with things were going really well, and then things were going really well, and we were getting loads of traction from outbound. We felt like we cracked outbound email.
Right.
And it would become like by far our best source of inbound and demos. And we were like, this is looking really good. This was just before this kind of new, these new kind of like AI outbound tools had come along. So it was still like, you want to scale outbound, it's probably like an SDR kind of play. Mm-hmm. And so we were like, okay, yeah, let's take a big swing. We had a bit of cash in the bank. We wanted to use it. We wanted to accelerate our growth at the time, which was healthy. You know, we've always, you know, ticked along at about like 20 to 30% a year, like overall revenue growth. And then our initial plan was just to stick with that. But we thought, no, let's do a big swing. Let's go for like 60%, which is, you know, hubris. we deserved what we got. And really, really, really bold. We kind of did this kind of SDR play, and we opened a second office, and we all agreed to do it. We were all kind of on this journey together, and it didn't quite work out. And, you know, there were kind of technical reasons for that. Like, I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, the deliverability filters on email, like outbound, changed a lot.
Yeah.
That was in the middle of this. Mm-hmm. So we just booted up this kind of whole program, like a nice new office with like a SDR team.
How many did you hire?
We're only the two, but for us that was massive. Yeah. Before we just had, one.
Yeah.
Tom. And and it just didn't come together. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we all made the decision together to kind of draw a line under it, and we closed that office. And that was probably the hardest, you know, in terms of taking a big swing.
Yeah.
And it not coming off. And I think it was a really interesting learning experience for me, because I remember having these moments where I was like, you know, Mark's got this great phrase, which is like, it's easy to get rich in a spreadsheet. Because we were like, you know, just doing the numbers in a spreadsheet, and, you know, you kind of click and hold the corner of a cell and you drag it down and it multiplies and multiplies. And we were like, wow, look at how many like new ops we're going to have. Look at how many deals we're going to have in the pipeline. But obviously it was all theoretical. And I remember having these moments where I was like, I can't believe it's like it's kind of taking off in this way. And it didn't, you know, and it's not like we had a terrible year. The business still grew. It was still on paper pretty good. It was more like mentally, we tried this big thing and it didn't quite come off the way we wanted it to. And it was probably a good learning experience.
But at the time, how did you feel? Did you feel like you had maybe a bit of a confidence here, or what did that, because I suppose your personality type, which is very creative, very open,
Yeah.
Does that come to bite you in the arse when you have an issue like that? Because you are very open, you wear your heart on your sleeve.
Yeah.
Do you find it quite difficult to maintain the same level of self-confidence when the chips are really down like that?
It's an interesting one. Yeah, I think there probably was a moment where we were kind of licking our wounds. And I think naturally you have these moments where when things don't quite pan out the way you thought they would, you start to doubt your own judgment a bit. So there was that. And, you know, at the time as well, I was just having like my first daughter when this was happening. So actually, in a way, it was almost, I was so focused on my family in that moment that I was able to like disconnect from it.
Yeah.
And I went on paternity leave and I came back and I'd been like in the hospital chatting to Mark and Tom on the phone when things were looking pretty bad, you know, and we were looking at the finances related to this office that we'd opened up and being like, yeah, that hurt us financially and that's not good. Had a month off paternity leave, came back, and everything had kind of righted itself. Like we'd won these new accounts. They were like 2 of the best accounts we'd ever won. Finances were looking great again. Yeah. I hadn't thought about work really for a month because I was busy being a new dad. So that process of kind of, as I put it, licking our wounds didn't last that long.
Yeah.
Because we got very, very busy. And then, you know, that was the start of this year. And it's been a great year.
Yeah.
So you have these moments, don't you?
I suppose that's the power of having co-founders as well, isn't it? That, you know, you've always got somebody there that's got your back. And if it was Tom that was having a baby, it'd be you and Mark that were kind of keeping the lights on and you're kind of there to look after each other. But I suppose the moral of the story is if things are looking bad, have a baby. Yeah. Because by the time you've come back, everything will be all right again.
I think, honestly, for me, the moral of the story is if things are going really well, just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Don't be like, right, this is a signal. We need to take it to the next level.
Just make sure you're looking over your shoulder because it's about to go really, really badly. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. Because like, it's really easy when things are going well to kind of think, yeah, we've completely cracked this. We're like, we've worked it all out. And let's just go really big. Like, it doesn't need to be that way, especially with the agency business model. I think with maybe a software as a service business model, you can scale that way if you want to be really aggressive about things. Agencies scale slowly. Growing a business by 30%, you know, a service company by 30% in a year, that's hard.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And we were like, let's do 60%.
Yeah.
We deserved kind of what we got a little bit, but we all made that decision together. And we dealt with the consequences together.
Yeah. So and you're still here to tell the story today. Brilliantly. And everything worked out just fine. And you said your first daughter, you've had another one since?
No, it's just about first time being a dad.
First time being a dad, right, okay. Well, congratulations on that as well. And so let's talk now about the future.
Okay.
So the business has been going 5 years. I have to say, because I know the business and people listening won't, let's just take it back a step. So Winbox, we've talked a lot about content creation.
Yeah.
You also do all of the distribution across LinkedIn as well. So you do the whole kind of package. Yeah. So you could say, from a future perspective, where the hell are you going to go now? You've already said LinkedIn is the niche. That's it. Yeah. We're not going to go outside of that. What else can you do? How can you grow it? Because you're already doing all of the content and all of the distribution, and you're sticking to LinkedIn. What's next for the business?
More clients.
So you're just going to get more people onto the model and just scale it that way.
More clients, bigger accounts. That's the plan. I don't think we need more service lines. I think what we want, and really our plan for next year, I'm really excited about next year because our marketing, it's not perfect. It's never perfect. Like marketing's never finished.
No.
Do you know what I mean? It's
agree,
always like an ongoing process of like watching what's happening in the market and listening to customers and adjusting. But like ultimately where we want to go is bigger accounts with people who are like investing more in LinkedIn ads. And so what that means for us from a marketing perspective, and I head up our marketing. So this is kind of the bit that I'm really engaged with. Just taking our personal brands to the next level. So doing more stuff like this. The branding of the business, I want to unlock that kind of like premium brand positioning, like that feeling of like a London or a New York creative agency.
Yeah.
Because like our USP is that we have the creative studio.
Yeah.
I just want, when people, you know, look at competitors and they're like, oh yeah, that's a LinkedIn ads agency and that's a LinkedIn ads agency. And when they come to ours, I want it to be like just such a step change creatively in terms of like how it looks and how it feels.
Yeah.
And I think we already like, we're getting there with that, but I want to kind of take that to the next level. So from a marketing perspective, that's our plan. And we, you know, for a small agency, a lot of small agencies our size don't do any marketing, and we do a lot, partially just because we really enjoy it. But for the business, it is just keep building, keep growing. Like, I'm sure you know this feeling that sometimes you can feel a change coming, like down the tracks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just kind of like feel it in your gut, like you don't know what the change is yet, but you're hearing things, you're sensing stuff that's telling you like this current way of operating needs to change. And sometimes you're like the opposite, like do not get distracted, keep building, like stay on the path. And right now I feel like we're on the path.
Yeah. I think absolutely with your business. I think the first, I don't know if it's a piece of your sales collateral or your content, and it was really impactful. The first line was LinkedIn has changed. And I'm like, what has it? Am I behind? What's happening? Yeah. And I was like, oh, immediate trust. I'm like, tell me, save me, George. Yeah. So yeah, I think that you're already trying to stay kind of ahead of the curve with the content that you're putting out there. Yeah. And it sounds like you've kind of worked really sensibly kind of backwards from where if you were building a product, because you've started with a mature product, and you're now starting to build the client base and mature the size of company, the brand around that. Whereas often with tech products, you start with overselling it massively, and then you've got kind of developers working all over the world trying to deliver your promises.
You're trying to build the thing you just sold in.
Yeah, exactly that, which is more my world. So it's great to hear that actually you don't need to do much apart from evolve really with the product, and you can now double down on that kind of top of the funnel or the early stage stuff, and actually just tell more people about it. And actually, I'm sure that anyone listening today would love to know more. So what's the best way for people to get in touch? Is it, I suppose, LinkedIn, right?
It is obviously,
eat your own dog food.
Obviously, LinkedIn. Yeah. And if you want to learn more about us and how we think, and also the journey, I'm trying to like build the muscle more of just documenting the journey and the process and just sharing what I'm doing, because I think that probably positions us in the right way. Like, you know, I'm always talking to clients about like, you want to feel like an open book. Like people want to be able to see into the business and like see the key people and that they really care about what they're doing. So yeah, LinkedIn's the place to kind of get in touch if you want to get in touch, or just follow along. Yeah. And we have a podcast, LinkedIn Ads Insider, which is on YouTube and Spotify and all the other places as well.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure that people, once they finish watching this one, guys, don't go over there yet. Don't change the channel just yet. We'll be tuning into LinkedIn Ads Insider. Okay. Yeah. Well, I certainly will. Cool. I know that. And George, I can't let you go without asking you for some final words of wisdom.
Oh wow.
So we have a lot of founders listening to the show, and I'd love. I mean, you've shared lots of knowledge and lots of wise words already. But what would be the key things that you would say to so kind of yourself if you looked back over the journey and maybe to avoid a couple of those skeletons that were laying in the cupboard for you?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I suppose the big thing for me, and this is something I'm thinking about like a lot at the moment, and kind of working on myself really over the past 10 years, is like, it sounds really corny, but you know, I'm all about story, all about narrative, all about framing things, right? And I think we all carry around a story in our head about like who we are. And like, I certainly do, like who I am, where I've come from, like the things that I've done, how life feels at the moment, and most importantly, the future, right? Does the future seem great, or does it seem kind of scary and unpredictable? And the thing that I'd recommend people kind of think about, I suppose, and I'm trying to do this, is like what is that story? You need to listen to the story you're telling yourself, because most of the time that story ends up being true. Like if you are telling like a negative story about your past, your present, your future, that's probably what's going to end up happening. Do you know what I mean? And likewise, if it's a positive one, and for me, like, you know, building a company is up and down at times, and everything worth doing is hard. So you have to tune into the story, because that story is like a prophecy.
Yeah.
And, you know, if it starts to get negative and you're losing control of your own kind of internal narrative, that's when you start making bad decisions, or just not turning up in the way, you know, that I personally want to.
Yeah.
So that's probably, yeah, if I had to impart, I don't know if that qualifies as wisdom, but that's certainly something I think about a lot for myself.
Yeah, I've never had anyone talk about this before. I thought I just did it.
I
do that all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly not letting myself tell myself a negative story.
Yeah.
And if you do have a past that hasn't been great, then replaying that in your head will make you feel better about where you are today. Because whatever you've been through before, you've now come out of the other end, and you might not have, or you might not be doing what somebody else is doing, but comparatively, you're absolutely smashing it. And so I thought I was the only person that when I'm having a bit of a rough day, I tell myself that story. It is like amazing advice, and something I wish I'd have told people to do before, because I didn't realize anyone else did it.
It's just something I think about. Yeah, more and more, you know, tuning in to like what is that internal voice. You know, we all walk around with a version of ourselves in our heads. It sounds mental, doesn't it? But that's kind of what it feels like to be kind of like conscious and aware.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if you're not listening to what that's saying and kind of like guiding it in the right direction, you can end up so it doesn't
go off on a negative tangent.
That's it. Yeah.
Brilliant advice, George. Look, I have absolutely loved this chat.
Cool.
I'm sure that this is not the end for us. We'd love to have you back. I'm sure that we'll be working together at some point. I'm really glad that I found Winbox. And in the meantime, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's been great.
Yeah.